That's what happens when you have late nights, wake up early, don't know what day it is, don't know what's going on.
I know the date. That's all that matters.
That's better than me some days, because sometimes all the days blur together. I'm like, oh, what day was it today?
Really?
What, the week's almost over?
Yeah.
Or just started? Sometimes I'll wake up and it's like, is it Friday? No. It's Tuesday.
Yeah. I like to remember the date because I feel like the month goes by faster for me.
Yeah?
Yeah. Instead of the days, and I'm like, oh, it's next Monday. But if I think it's the 16th next Monday, then I'm like, oh, it's not that far.
Because you're counting 30 days.
Yeah.
Approximately. That's cool. So, Harnoor, what grad class were you in? You graduated not long ago from Delvey, right?
Yeah, I was in the grad class of 2022. So it's been 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And in those 2 years, I've heard you've gone into, paramedic school?
Yeah. I was already a paramedic before I graduated high school. I was just yet to get licensed. So
you can be a paramedic while you're in high school?
Yeah, when I was 16.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very basic level of paramedic. Uh-huh. So it's called EMR, and you can get it when you're 16, and you can work in the ambulance system.
And EMR stands for?
Emergency Medical Responder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's just the basic. And then now I'm planning to go on to the higher level, which is Primary Care Paramedic, so PCP.
PCP.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that while you were in high school? Because in high school, were you a first responder?
I was. That's what got me into everything. And then the course, the instructors that taught me, they're actually from Scouts Canada, which have their own little team. So they asked me if I was interested, and I said yes. Someone from my class, Sumit, I don't know if you remember her. Yeah, she's still on the same team in Scouts Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then on there's a bunch of nurses and advanced care paramedics, even higher level, people who work in helicopters for paramedic.
Yeah.
And then just being around them made me realize that this is something I do want to do for my lifetime.
Okay, so when was the first moment you realized, hey, this is something that I can do? Because, we always have those moments when we're trying to figure ourselves out. And I know a lot of our grade 12s right now are trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And I know I've applied for this, but I'm not too sure until I've, have been there and done that.
I feel like it's like a gut feeling to stick with what really stands out to you. For me, when I was on call with any event I went to as first aid or any event that I was here, there's a very certain headspace that I get into that I never knew I had. So once I realized that the headspace has always been there since I was a little kid, and that I'm better at hands-on things rather than just sitting around and going into books is just who I am. That's when I kind of realized. But at the same time, I'm still doing my degree at UBC in psychology, because the thing for everything is you have to study the human mind before you treat the human body, right? That's why I'm doing psychology. I think the really deciding moment was the moment I got my first patient, and how easily I was able to follow the patient care model, and how it kind of just came naturally. I knew what to do. I knew to help the patient mentally and physically. And then I had a call in high school one time, which it was more of a mental health call. And I kind of just sat with the patient in our first aid room here at Delvey for 2 hours, and we just talked. So I realized if I can help someone feel better, why can't I do this for the rest of my life?
Wow. So the time you got your first, when was the first patient? When was that? When did you get your first patient?
At 16.
At 16.
Yeah.
And are there, do you have a story around that? What were the particular details about that?
It was more of just a laceration, so a cut along the arm. And it was so we always work in teams of 2, always teams of 2, but unless you're in public alone and something happens. But I was in a team of 2, and I basically just applied pressure because it was my first call, so I didn't want to take lead. And then as I saw my supervisor going through it, and in my head I knew which step he was on, and it was it was a bit hard to follow. Of course, it's your first call, so you're a bit scared as well. But then I realized the patient really like took comfort in me, and I was like, "Oh, would you like to hold my hand to like feel a bit better?" Because it was a pediatric patient, and the patient was like, "Yes." And then we just like I helped the patient calm down mentally, and while my like paramedic did his job, and then after the job he came up to me and he was basically just like, "Oh, the way you calmed him down is really impressive, because it's a pediatric, it's very hard to calm them down." And he was like, "I feel like you should get more and like into the job and get interested a bit more." So the more I looked into it, the more I realized that like it's always been a bit harder for me to study things, but studying like paramedicine is really easy for me. I just seem to understand the things, that's why.
Is there something in your past, like growing up, we all play these games, like we pretend to be
Like
in the
doctor,
hospital or
yeah.
doctor or teacher or whatever, these models that we make in our minds and role play. Was there something like that, or did you have family that were in healthcare that inspired you?
Yeah, I think so my uncle and my aunt are in healthcare, and since I was a kid, they're back in India, right? So I moved to Canada from India in 2015-ish. So before then, I was around healthcare a lot, which I think is one of the things that got me into it. And then from my dad's side, they're all more like sportsy and like track and field stars. So I feel like that's where the physical part of the job comes in me. So I feel like it all really combines together. It's just like two environments I grew up in since I was a kid.
So what is the day-to-day of a paramedic? Like, you've been on a few calls. Like, what do you do at like, let's go back to when you were 16. You said there's like kind of before you become a full paramedic, there's this program where high schoolers can get into. Like, what were you doing at that time? Like, what was a typical call for you?
A typical call would be like any call at Delview, right? Because I wasn't allowed to work in the ambulance system.
Okay.
So a typical call could be anywhere from like, this one time I got paged 911 like in the school for like a head
So you're talking
laceration.
about like first responders here?
Yeah, the first responder team here. This one time I got a 911 call about a head laceration. So it can be that, or it can be something like an ankle sprain, right? So it really depends. I feel like anything can happen anywhere.
So when you were in the first responders program here, were you also like working outside of school?
I was working at events, with the Scouts Canada team.
Scouts Canada.
Yeah, and mostly it's Scouts Canada, so mostly the things there are like scrapes and abrasions. But this happened one time when we were on a camp and I wasn't on call. I think Sumit was, but some adult, he got really dizzy and then fell and split his head open.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think she was the one on call at that time, but I just heard about it the next day.
Right.
Yeah, and then right now I'm on the UBC paramedic team. So there, like a day-to-day, it depends what shift you're on. So I usually do night shifts, which is 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. I usually do Friday nights because that's where like the most stuff happens. And I've dealt with seizures. I've dealt with like just drunk patients, and I've dealt with like just like ankle sprains or like knee dislocations, anything from that. We've had CPR calls on UBC as well. Yeah, so it really depends. Like anything can happen anywhere.
So you're in Kelowna right now, and the program is at UBC in Kelowna?
We're called the UBC Emergency First Response Team. UBC effort.
And so what is like if somebody wanted to be, one of our listeners wanted to be a paramedic, like what is the route to get to become a full-time paramedic?
It's very easy. It requires, of course, tuition, right? But very simple is you go from your basic first aid, like first aid level C, and then there's something called first responder, which is the course you have to take to be a first responder at Delview. But if you'd like, the way I did the first responder, and then I did the EMR, which is emergency medical responder, but there's a joint course for those two. So you can just take the joint course and do it at the same time. And then the next thing is where you would have to wait until you're 19, which is to go to the next paramedic school, like primary care paramedic. And since I just turned 19 in like last December, so like 3 months ago now, I'm eligible to go to that school. And then from there on, it's PCP. And then the next step is the last one, which is ACP, which is just Advanced Care Paramedic. So Advanced Care Paramedic, they know a lot about like how the heart works, and they're able to read heart rhythms and administer like heart medications. So sometimes if, let's say you're on an EMR ambulance car working as an EMR and there's something you cannot do, you can call in and ask for a PCP ambulance car to intercept and they can do their treatment. If you're a PCP, there's some things you cannot do. Patient is critical, you call for an ACP car to intercept and they can intercept. So it all just works in a team.
Cool. So if you need them, they're just on call and they will just meet you wherever you are.
Yeah, they will like, you will tell them where your ambulance is. You will keep going. They will catch up to you. You stop for a second. They hop onto yours and you just keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
just
interesting.
Anything to save their life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so like you see this on shows and movies and stuff as well. And I've seen some documentaries. There's one that I saw on Netflix called, I think it's called Emergency NYC. Mm-hmm. And it follows some paramedics around. It also follows some surgeons and doctors, like the whole process of getting somebody care. Mm-hmm. And it's really exhilarating. Like there's like, do you feel an adrenaline rush? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Like when you enter a situation where you have to solve this problem and there's like a time limit, obviously.
Yeah, it happens to me every single time I have a call. There's been times when I got called onto the seizure call, my adrenaline was so high, my hands were shaking, and I'm like, I cannot have my hands shake in this moment. So I was just like, I looked at my clinical coordinator, and I was like, give me 1 second, and then I just like, that's when you kind of step off, take a breather, and come back.
So that's how you cope with that.
Yeah, that's how I coped. But there's times where I'm this like senior in charge and I literally cannot step back. So in my head, I'm just like, just shut up. I'm like, just focus. I'm like, you got this. And I'm like, it's not about you, it's about the patient. And that's like one line. It's like, it's not about you, it's about the patient. That was like kicks off my hand shaking. And
do you think that is, I mean, it's always a bit of both, but do you think a lot of that is training or is it personality? Because you see it every day. There's people who tend to panic around problem situations and people who are very calm and kind of solve one little problem at a time until they fix it, right?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person. Like some people are just like, they just have it, right? They'll be okay, but some people can have they can like be a little nervous like me. But for me, one thing calmed me down. It's more about the patient, and the other thing was experience. The more calls you do, the more you understand, and the more confident you become, right? Because the first time you go on call as the senior, you're a bit scared to lead the team and to lead everything, even though and you've been trusted heavily, right? So in times like that, you just have to know that like you're there for a reason. You trust yourself, you trust your skills, you have your team, and you just have to like calm down a bit. And then with time, with experience, like now, the only thing that makes me jump is like the radio going off because it's so loud. It's like I'm sleeping in the middle of the night. It's like dispatch, responder 1, we need you on site. And I'm just like, okay, that's the only thing. Oh,
so it's like when you say you're sleeping at night, like do you find time to sleep while you're like on call? Not at home, but you're in the office. In the office.
Yeah. So you can sleep as long as your radio is on and cranked all the way up.
Right. And so it'll just start talking right away.
Yeah. So the way it goes for us is just like I just keep it on the table and I sleep on the bunk bed right by it. And it just goes, dispatch Romeo 1, we have a call here and here. This is what's happening. And we're like, okay, like we're on the way. This is like our ETA, estimated time of arrival.
Are you the driver?
So right now I may work mainly on the UBC campus. So right now we can just walk around, right?
Okay.
But I think with the driver thing, when you start your shift, you just ask your partner, like, do you want to take lead today or do you want me to drive? And it just keeps switching like that. So it depends. I feel like when I work on car, I would want to be the driver, and then but I also want to be the responder.
So when you're the driver, you're still responding and helping out, right?
Yeah, so
you're not just the driver.
You're just like, okay, I'm just gonna wait here.
I'll just wait in the car.
Yeah, you got
do your
this.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just the second person. So let's say like a CPR call, right? It's the easiest to explain because let's say responder number 1, so main responder is the one doing chest compressions. Responder 2 is the one like ventilating the patient, right? So responder 2 is basically just getting instructions from responder 1 and assisting them. That's where like the person who's driving comes in. And if let's say you need an extra assistance like in any call, there will be other paramedics there because you'll hear over the radio what type of call it is, right? Or there'll be fire there. You can just ask them to come with you in the car and they will come with you. But the driver stays the driver. Yeah.
Is there a thought going through your mind that, like, how important it is for you to do this right? Because obviously there's a lot of pressure. Like, I'm as a teacher, I have pressure, but it's not the same type of pressure where somebody could die on you.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. So there's a lot, but I feel like when you start thinking that route is when things start going wrong. When you start double guessing yourself, right? That's when you start overthinking, and that's when these things just go everywhere, right? So I feel like just keep your
It's like when you're playing golf and you're trying not to hit the water.
Exactly.
And then you hit the water.
Yeah. It's like I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just try to keep my head in a straight line. Just keep it focused. And if there's something like, even if I'm senior on call, if I have a question, I ask my like teammate, right? Like I'd rather ask than do something wrong. So yeah, it's just like, honestly, I really depend on teamwork and communication.
So you mentioned a lot about teamwork. How do they build the team in your schooling and your training? How do they do that? Because I'm sure you don't always stick around with the same people. So like really quickly, sometimes you have to build a team and trust each other. And just like with any other team, you have to get to know the people and how they work and what their strengths and weaknesses are, what yours are, and how to fill in those gaps.
I think the main thing is like when I'm on call at UBC, right? I work with a different person every shift.
Okay.
I've never been on like shift with the same people more than like 2-3 times. But the thing is like we always have a sit down and we're like, this is how I communicate. How would you communicate, right? And even if we don't get a chance to sit down, let's say they have a lecture or they're busy, right? It's always kind of like said without saying that we are going to be a team and we are going to communicate. I feel like a lot of like we just rely on each other a lot and we know that we are going to. It's just like said without being said. It's just like the basic first line of expectation there. Throughout like when you go through the paramedic program and everything, I got taught by a paramedic himself. So it was like easier for me and like better to learn, and he was explaining the importance of teamwork. So it also really depends where you learn your paramedic program.
And so I guess what might make it easier is like certain standards of how you do things, so everybody's on the same page.
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
And then during the call, we always make sure we say what we're doing. So it's like,
what do you mean?
So the other like last Friday, and this wasn't my call, I was kind of just overlooking a bit, but there was 3 responders, and one of them was like standard first aid, and the other one was on the same like scope of practice I am, and he's allowed to take vitals. The standard first aid isn't, but the standard first aid was responder 1, so the main responder. So she looked over and she's like, hey, can you take vitals for me? And he's like, yeah, I got it. So it's just like things like that. Or I'm just like, hey, can you hold pressure for me? And he's like, yeah, I got it, you know? And then you have to listen. Just because you're responder 1 doesn't mean you can just not listen to responder 2, right? So you have to listen to each other, and you have to be in the game, you know? Yeah.
But it's like very complex because you can see how, you know, that person has to admit that they can't do that, or they're not trained for that, and get somebody else to do that, right?
I feel like on our team, not a lot of people take it to heart that they can't do it, because they understand that we have courses to level up.
Right.
Yeah, so they understand that if they didn't take the course, it's on them, right? And we say in the team, it's like, if this is not in your scope of practice, don't do it in your scope of practice, right? Because that's not beneficial to you or the patient, right? They're not a dummy, you know? They're an actual real life patient.
What is the scariest call you've ever had?
I think the seizure one.
The seizure one.
Yeah, it was scary. It's just seeing a person like.
So can you like set the scene? Like how did you find out about that call, and how did you end up
I was
doing it?
On the same thing, UBC first year. I was in my dorm and it's like 4 a.m. And the radio goes off. It's like dispatch Romeo 1, Romeo 2. It's like we have a call in Purcell and this, that, right? And they tell us what it's for. It's a seizure. So I go there. I wait for my other teammate to come, and he comes, and we go. And so this patient was a repetitive patient, which means the team knows this patient. That they deal with them all the time. But it's my first time on the team, so it was my first time with the patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of comfort there because everybody else has
they know the patient. Yeah. And then I just go on, and then we just do the regular. We introduce ourselves. We like start taking vitals, start like asking a bunch of questions. Like it's called the interview part of the patient care model. So I start doing that, and then just boom, the seizure. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, I look at my like partner, and he's the clinical coordinator at the time. I'm like, and he's like, just go back. He's like, this is like, just step back. And then he's like, can you grab a blanket? So we just like push a blanket under her head while like her head was like bouncing off the ground. We just found that one moment to just push a blanket under her head. Yeah. And then we just like moved everything away from her surroundings, right? Because we don't want her hitting anything. And then I look at him like, what now? And he's like, we wait. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so we wait. And he's like, yeah, we just wait. And then we waited, and she woke up, and then right when the seizure right when the seizure stopped, we do something called like level of responsiveness, which is the first thing you always do. So we start them like, hey, can you hear me? Do a pain response, right? And just go on from there, see if she has circulation, see if she's breathing, or if it like transferred into a cardiac call, which it didn't, thankfully. And then she woke up. Same thing. We were like, do you know what happened? She's like, yes. Like, I'm used to it. And we're just talking. Same thing, interview, and then another seizure. And then the thing is, for this patient, every time the ambulance gets called, she gets very mad. She gets very verbally abusive with the team, with the paramedics. Yeah. So we're like, between her first and her second seizure, we're like, you don't want an ambulance, right? And she's like, no. And I'm like, you're going to have to sign a form. And she's like, yes. So we make her like say she doesn't want an ambulance, and then second seizure. So it's just from there, it's just ongoing care. Yeah. Right. We're trying to make sure that she doesn't choke on her tongue. Yes. But the thing is something called OPA, which is like it keeps you push it inside the mouth and keeps your airway open, but you cannot do it to a conscious person. And that's the thing. Every time she has a seizure, she wakes up and is conscious. So even if and we can't touch a seizing patient, right? It's dangerous for the patient and for ourselves. Okay. Yeah, we can't like try to put an OPA in while she's seizing. She will bite our hands off. Right. Basically, yeah. So the whole call, it was a bit scary because it's my first time seeing someone's eyes roll all the way back. It's like a horror movie. Yeah. And then the second thing was it's just ongoing care. It's just like doing the best you can, and then making sure her friend's there and making sure she's okay when she's done all her episodes of seizing. Yeah.
So this is something you obviously you're in it and you really love to do. What are some of the drawbacks to being a paramedic? Like, what are some of the things that, like every career, there's something that you might not like to do that you have to do, or some aspect of it, whether it's lifestyle or whatever it is. Like, what is it for paramedics?
I think the fact that the radio gives us heart attacks. it's
just shocking because all of a sudden you go from 0 to 100.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like, for me, I don't even realize the radio went off and I'm already standing. And then I'm listening and I'm like, wait. Because my body, like, right when I hear the dispatch, my body is just full.
You're so well trained now that you just stand up and you're going. Yeah.
And my bag is on and I don't even know what the call is. I'm just ready to automatic. Go. Yeah. And sometimes, like, this really makes me mad. It's like, dispatch, Romeo 1, radio check. And I'm like, like, you have to be serious.
It's not real. It's just a radio check.
Yeah. So it happens a lot. That's why we're going silent for the night so they don't call us until they need us. Okay. But I feel like something I like to do everything, honestly. There's no drawback for me except for like the fear of like losing a patient. Except for the fear where it's like I have to like I really can't do anything to save a patient, which I've accepted that if I really can't do anything, it's out of my hands, right? It's fate and destiny and all those things.
And chances are, if you're a career paramedic, that's going to happen.
Of course, it's
more than a few times.
It's going to happen, yeah. And then the only thing is, it's like, what if I was able to do something, but I was too late to get to it?
Right.
So that's just like the one.
The guilt.
Yeah, that's the thing that keeps me back. I'm just like, like I'm preparing myself for it little by little, but you never know. It could be my next call.
So how do they schedule things like that? Like just for your own mental health, you can't be on all the time, right?
No.
So I guess there's shifts, or there are times where, like, how does it work? Like, is it like a few weeks on and then a few weeks off, or what is that like?
I'm not entirely too sure about like the BC paramedic ambulance system. But from what I know, like the UBC team, we do 3 shifts per day, which is 24 hours.
Okay.
So it's 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., and then 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. is the one I'm usually on. And then from what I know, from what I read in like my new paramedic school module, there can be 12-hour shifts throughout multiple times throughout the week, especially because there's a paramedic shortage, right? So there can be times like that. And honestly, like, you can get to a point where you overwork, just like how nurses overwork, right? You can get to that point as well, because you have to think about like who takes all the patients to the hospital, right? It's the people like in the ambulance system, and if there's so many that are like, I mean, like so less of us, the ones who are there have to work a lot more. So you can really get into overworking, and then it just depends on like if you really put yourself into it, right?
Yeah. Which is why other first responders sometimes appear first.
Yeah.
Right. I remember I was feeding my daughter. I was giving her some medicine once when she was a baby, and it seemed like she stopped breathing.
Oh, okay.
Like she stopped.
Yeah.
Like she just was silent. And silence for a baby is like weird.
Scary, yeah.
So I freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I told my wife to call 911. And then, just a few minutes later, because I guess we have a fire hall pretty close by, the firemen appeared, and then the paramedics appeared. And then it was like this whole team of people working. And then it turned out to be just fine. So I think the firemen just tapped her on the back and did some things, but it was fine and it worked out okay. But I just thought, wow, this is really cool that we have this service where if you're in danger, you have somebody to call in like as soon as possible. They're there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times fire shows up first. There's even like for the seizure calls when the ambulance did get called against the patients, well, when I was not there, the fire shows up first because they're a lot quicker to show up, right?
Right. And I guess there's more, fire halls are spread out nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're a paramedic and you get a call, like are there, I think I've seen like buildings that are buildings for paramedics.
Yeah. But there's not as many as fire, of course. Right. Yeah. I feel like, honestly, I actually haven't seen one in Kelowna so far.
Oh, yeah?
But Kelowna is really busy with medical calls. So I think we might have like 3, 4. But like, of course, Kelowna is known for its fire. So we have a lot more fire buildings.
So is there home base at the hospital then?
I don't think so. No, I think they have buildings. Yeah. Specific.
Okay. Is that usually how it works?
It's just, usually you have like the BC, it says BC ambulance only, and then like on the other side it's the building.
So they'll just take the patient to the hospital after they've treated them as first responders.
I mean, they might go
if they need
like
to.
Tim Hortons after, but
and then they're just in the car and just waiting for the next call.
It's same thing with like fire. They're just in the building and like they're like in their dorms or whatever they call it, and just waiting for a call.
I see. Yeah, and then dispatch would be in that building.
Dispatch would be like the 911 you call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's all connected through a radio system.
Okay.
Just like how UBC is connected to a radio system. So the radio goes off, and then you know how like cops wear radios all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are all connected. Those are all connected to one another.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the dispatch is 911, how can I help you? That's the dispatch that calls you. Yeah.
It's cool how that all works.
It's like a whole like network.
Yeah.
It's like a spider web of network.
Yeah. So let's go back a bit further. You were a student at Delvey, obviously. I taught you in grade 8.
Yeah.
For science.
Yeah. I was a messed up student in grade.
You were a messed up student?
Yeah,
what do you mean by that?
I got really bad grades.
I remember. I don't remember much about your grade or your class because so much has happened in between.
Yeah.
But I think we were doing some projects back then.
Yeah.
I probably got you guys to do a project where you had to like interview somebody, right?
No, you made us do board games.
Oh, we did board games.
Yeah.
Oh, immune system board
yeah, the
games.
immune system ones.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had the fair that happens at Bellevue every year.
Oh, the exhibition.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you did do a project.
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably had to find an expert to interview for that project.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
What was your project? I can't remember now.
I can't either. I don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those projects were hanging in the hallways for quite some time. And of course, we rotate through them. But recently, I don't teach Science 8 anymore because I got an extra engineering block.
Oh,
and so,
nice.
So I had to clean up a lot of those old projects. Yeah. Until somebody else takes it over.
Is there someone like teaching science though? Or?
Oh, yeah.
There has to be, right?
There has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not doing those projects anymore.
No, that made me sad because Science 8 was like my memory with you. I always knew my mom came to visit you a few times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, she's a bad kid. She's like, how do I like help her fix it? I'm like, I'm a UBC now. I'm a paramedic, so I think I'm fine.
And that was your first year here.
Yeah, at Bellevue.
There's a lot of adjusting to do for some, and we get a lot. I mean, every year we get students who are international students, or we have a lot of refugee students and students who are just moving in here for the first time. And what was it like for you to get here and then all of a sudden be in a high school in Canada? And what was the adjustment like?
It was scary. I think I got here in grade 6, right? But elementary is a lot different because you have your set classroom, so it's a lot more comfortable, right? While in high school, every time you're switching classes and there's like more and more people and the hallways are so crowded. So I feel like it was really scary and really overwhelming. But at the same time, like I'm the type of person, like, like the placebo effect, like mind over matter.
Yeah.
I'm that type of person. So I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna leave those thoughts aside. So I kind of just kept going. And I feel like at one point I did crash. Like if you look at my transcript, it goes from like 51, 52, and then grade 11 is like, it took me until grade 11 to finally adjust to high school.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's what it was. I remember, I mean, you were a really nice person in grade 8. Academically, you struggled a bit, but I also know that I knew that you were pretty new to this country, only a couple of years. And I think you did have some difficulty with language at first.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot to handle. I mean, take any of the kids who grew up here and throw them into a different country and just like see how you can do.
Yeah. Tell them like, this is where you are now.
Yeah.
This is your life. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Everything you know is different now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was confusing. It was like hard, but like one thing I'm glad is just like you just gotta keep going. And then like I'm glad by grade 11 I realized that I like need to have a future and I need to go to a good university, and I feel like I'm pretty intelligent myself. One thing I noticed about me, I think that's what like happened to me from like grade 8 to 11 is lack of stimuli or too much stimuli. Because for me right now, I'm doing like UBC, working like I worked 98 hours in like 12 days the other day.
Oh, gosh.
And then like that in the paramedic school. So I feel like that for me is the perfect balance of stimuli. But I feel like anything more or anything less will make me just go crazy. So I feel like maybe that was also a part from grade 8 to 11, knowing how to like keep yourself engaged in yourself. And knowing to like provide for what your mind and your body needs, right? And for me, I feel like I was just like following what other people did, and that's where I went wrong. That's where I got like sidetracked.
Right. Yeah. Until you get to know yourself, you kind of follow role models if you can find any. Yeah.
you can think someone's a role model, but like sometimes you just have to think twice, right? There's nothing wrong with like being wrong in life, but there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. It just all depends on what you do with that experience, right? Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, paramedics make mistakes. I mean, it's not a good thing to say, but everybody's human.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you got older and when you got to your senior grades, I remember you doing a lot of charity work.
Oh, yeah.
What were some of the things that you did? Because I remember that being a huge part of what you did around the school.
I think with the school, I was on the first responders team a lot of the time. I was on Scouts Canada, like the medical team for. I was on there for a really long time, like 4 years, but I left now because I'm all the way in Kelowna, and I even got like a certificate or like a medal or something. I just forgot because I wasn't there to pick it up. And then I was at the food bank. I volunteered there. I did my own like couple fundraisers with my friend Baureen.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it all got donated to the Ronald McDonald Foundation in like Vancouver, and mostly was just first responders here in the Scouts Canada medical team. But I think like I did a lot because I realized a lot throughout like my life. So where I like something related is like where I work 98 hours is like it's called Gongcha. It's like a bubble tea shop. I basically manage it, and I'm at the store like 10 to 8 every single day. And one thing with that is you meet a lot of people, right? And
you're doing that now? Wow.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And with that, you know, like you get to know a lot of things, right? And sometimes people are like, I'm having a bad day. So I'm just like, okay, here's a size up for free. And they're like, sometimes I'm just like, well, I'm not happy. And I'm like, okay, talk to me about it. You know, I have time. So I feel like a lot of charity things, it's just like, it's good to be nice, right? Even when sometimes I get sad about why am I so nice, there's been times, and exactly in those times, something has happened that has repaid me for all my kindness. Like this one time, this customer left me like a $50 tip on a busy day, and I was just like, what the heck is happening? Just because I treated them with a smile in a really busy time when I was working alone. Yeah. So it's all like...
It's a cherry on top when you do nice things for other people, like you're doing it for the right reasons because you want to be kind. And then it's a cherry on top when they repay you for it. Yeah. Or when life repays you for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And life is like a boomerang, right? Yeah. It's a very old saying. I never really understood it. I made fun of it even, but like now it makes sense.
Yeah. The positivity that you put out there comes back to you.
And I feel like even if it doesn't come back to you, right? If you're happy within yourself, that means you're like, you have enough happiness in you to share a little bit, right? To make others alongside you that aren't happy, because not, like for me, I live in a very nice apartment, right? And my parents pay for half of it. They pay for half of my like tuition. It's insane, right? And for me, if I can do that, and if I have food on the table every single day, I have like a lot, like money to do groceries, right? There's some people who are having a little bit of harder time, and if I can't like provide for them, I can provide for them just by like being kind, right? There's so much like kindness missing these days, and a lot of people just like want something to like make them smile for once, like once in a day. And for me, I don't really expect anything to like be repaid back to me, because me being kind to them is already like my payback. It makes me happy to be kind to others.
Yeah, I think, that's a lot of people have figured that out, that if they're just kind to people and they do things for more than just themselves, the repayment is that you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
Like you're contributing something to the world.
I feel like this other day, like there's a refugee like family from, I think, Mexico that comes in a lot at Gongcha, Kelowna. And every time they come in, like I can tell like their father was in a wheelchair and they were struggling a bit, right? And they still came to our store, and they always ordered mediums. I just give them larges. I'm like, just here you go. I'm like, just don't tell my boss. I'm like, just here you go, just take it. And then they're really happy. Like every time, like just seeing them smile, and like seeing like 2 little kids smile, I'm like, thank you. It's like, it means the world to me, you know? Like nothing can like repay me more than just seeing 2 little kids smile.
Right. And when you do that for people, they will be more likely to pay that forward to other people.
Exactly.
Right. And do something with their lives that's huge.
Exactly. Yeah. Like role models, right? Like we were talking about before, like that can be like you can be someone's role model, and you might not even realize it. It's like someone gave me a free size up one time when I was struggling, and that made me want to change my life around, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you deal with a lot of stress, obviously. What are some silly things that you do, or hobbies that you might have that are fun to do, and like what do you do in your spare time?
Sleep.
Sleep.
I have no time to sleep, so I sleep. One more thing, I don't know, just listen to music and late, like I just stare at my ceiling. I'm just like,
what kind of music do you listen to?
I don't know. I just go Spotify shuffle. Yeah.
Just shuffle it.
Just anything. And I'm like, too much stress choosing music, you know? Just like whatever happens.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Too much stress picking the right music.
Exactly.
Just give something to me.
I just go, hey Siri, shuffle playlist. And it was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm just staring at the ceiling doing nothing. And then one more thing is like, you know how like there's like Valentine's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and shops decorate? I decorate Gongcha like a lot. Like before I came, we're not open on Mondays. I just went on Monday. I just bought a bunch of stuff, and you just see me like hanging hearts from the ceiling.
You're like that scene from Elf.
Yeah.
Where he went in there late at night and decorated the whole place.
Yeah, that was me. I flew at 8 p.m. I'm there at like 6, and I'm just like listening to like La La Land or something. I'm just hanging hearts from the ceiling. And my boss comes in because she saw me on the camera. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, Valentine's Day, you know? I'm just like, you gotta be happy. And then one more, awesome. I have access to our Instagram account. So I posted, I'm like, do you guys have Valentine's Day? Like, do you have a Valentine this year? And a lot of people were like, no. I'm like, it's okay. We got you. I'm like, we'll release our special drinks, you know? It's like, we have you. Yeah. It's like just messing around with people who follow us.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That creates a community around your store.
Yeah, it's just random stuff.
Yeah.
I even like just go on a drive sometime and just get McDonald's and do nothing.
Yeah. So you talked about sleep and the lack of it. I know, like, my sister is a doctor. She's a family doctor, but she also delivers babies.
Okay.
So sometimes she'll be like sitting at our family dinner, and then her pager goes off, and she'd be like,
"Gotta go.
See you guys. I won't be back till the morning, so I'm gone." And she just takes off. And I suppose a lot of being a paramedic is kind of like that, because when you're on call, you're on call. Anything could happen at any time.
Exactly.
And so that kind of lifestyle is very, very different from the 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Or like being a teacher. Yeah. I mean, I still go home and I do work, and if I have to mark and do all that. But it's not the same level of stress as, going from 0 to 100%. So where do you, like, you talked a little bit about how you cope with stress, like taking a breath. Yeah. But do you like sleep whenever you can, when you're like, what kind of gaps are there between a call and then after a call? Like, or do they just link up and you just go from one call to another all day long?
It depends. I've had like a time, or not, like one day we had a call in the gym of the UBC. Right when we're done, we have another call. So there's times like that where you just keep moving. There's times where it's like one call and you might not have a call for the rest of like the night, right? One thing I always do after a call to like kind of like get back into 100 from a 0 is just joke around with my teammate. And I'm like, how was that call? Like, what were you doing? And we're just like, just joking around. We're like, why is the weather so chilly? I'm like, we're just like, sometimes we just like run inside the office. Sometimes we're just like talking about random stuff. It's just like, that calms me down, just talking to my teammate after. Because it's just like, it's the same thing. He or she also needs to go from 100 to a 0, right?
Yeah.
So we just talk and we just make up. Or sometimes I just call my mom and I'm like, Mom, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sleeping? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, bye. And I just hang up. And that just like brings me back. Things like that. But with the sleep, I find myself awake for at least 30 minutes after every call.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's adrenaline.
Exactly. Yeah. And then after that, I'm just like able to get myself back to sleep. Yeah. But for me, I have a very deep sleep.
Okay.
But I don't have that on calls. My body and my mind is very alert. So it's rather than sleep, it's just shut eye. Like my eyes are just closed, but my mind and my body is like ready to like just go and like go save someone.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Are you an easy sleeper? Like if there's no call, after that half an hour goes by, you just lay down and you're gone?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, until the radio goes off.
Right.
Yeah, or until like shift change happens.
So you have no problem sleeping.
I have no problems. I'm so used to it by now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what else can you do? The first night shift I had, I stayed awake from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. It's like the worst decision of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a call at 6 a.m. Like, your adrenaline's pumping, you're really tired, and like those two things just don't go well together. And I don't drink caffeine, so it's like.
So when you were inexperienced,
yeah,
you decided, I have to stay up.
Yeah.
Because I can't miss
sleep.
anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And then now I'm just like, I trust myself to wake up, and I should get some rest before I go treat a patient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mindset change.
Very cool. So what are some of the things you're looking forward to in your like future career after you move on from UBC?
I think this has been my life, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's like nothing I'm really like looking forward to. I guess like looking forward to just having the same lifestyle and just like keep helping people and like having even more of an opportunity to help people, because right now I'm like confined in UBC, right? But once I get done with this program, then I can go onto the ambulance system, work in Kelowna or in Vancouver, like wherever I want. So like I can help more people, basically. That's something I'm looking forward to.
So once you have the training, I bet you it's pretty easy to find a job because of the shortage of paramedics.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pick where you want to be.
You don't get to pick. So there's something called precepting, which is you're still in the course, but you're on the car with the supervisor. That's when you can pick, like Vancouver, Kelowna, or whatever. But like your first time with like BC ambulances, more often they just put you in like the middle of nowhere. Because they don't like imagine it's your first day as a paramedic, like on your own, and you're in downtown Vancouver and there's like 7 stabbings. Yeah. So that's why they try to like tend to put you off more in a rural area. And for me, I'm in Kelowna, so that works out perfectly. They're just going to put me like a little bit off the highway and I'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Is that how it works? So if you join the BC ambulance service, then they will place you?
They will place me, yeah.
Okay.
You tell them like where you can work, like Vancouver, Kelowna, whatever, and they'll just place you based on that. Or they'll ask you like, can you relocate?
So obviously they have a map and they split it up into different sections, and you would take care of like one area?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But if needed, of course, like when the paramedic shortage was really bad, I think there was a car from Hope that came all the way down here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's times like that when you have to compromise.
So the supervisors are just managing personnel.
Exactly. They're just like, you need to go from Hope all the way to Vancouver. Yeah.
Would you ever have to get on a helicopter or a plane?
I think for that you have some more special training, but I'm gonna get into search and rescue as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and also helicopters as well. Yeah, I feel like it's something I'm really interested in. So I'm gonna do this first, and then next step would be search and rescue. Yeah. And for now, every time I get on the plane, I'm the only paramedic. So
really?
Yeah. Like I've had a plane call one time where like some flight attendant somehow dropped the baggage on the patient's head, and I'm just like I'd look at the patient, I'm like, are you suing them? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's on you, right? It's not my problem. And then the patient was fine. Like I assessed for stroke, I assessed for like any like neurological disease, like complications or anything, and then just simple like, are you on any medication? So like blood thinners would be like something like you'd want to. She
dropped a suitcase, like a carry-on, so it could still be really heavy.
Exactly. Yeah. It could be really heavy, like 7 kg on someone's head. It's a lot, right? So I just plus like assessing for a stroke is very, very simple. You just tell them, close your eyes, put your arms up. If one of the arms is dropping, there's a good chance of a stroke.
Did they at least have a concussion symptoms?
She had a concussion, yeah.
Okay.
So, like, throughout, like, I was like, oh, she's fine. Like, we can fly, right? And I look at her, I'm like, if you like to get off, that's your personal decision. Like, for me, like, you're okay to fly. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to fly. And then, like, in the middle of the flight, she's like, I can't see. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't see? And she's like, oh, it's hard for me to, like, see. And I'm like, what's the closest thing you can see? And then it was, like, it was okay distance. She's like, I can't see further than that. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you probably have a concussion. I'm like, yeah.
So when did this, obviously, if it's a suitcase, does this happen before the flight started?
It was while we were boarding, actually.
Okay. Yeah. While you were a passenger.
Yeah, I was the passenger.
Okay, I thought you were called
Oh,
onto the
no.
flight?
I was just a
Okay.
passenger, and I just saw like the flight attendants take care of her. And I just like while passing, and I'm like, if you need me, I'm a paramedic. This is my seat number. And they came up to me, and I'm like, okay, and, like here we
So
go.
it's one of those things like that you see in movies where it's like, is there a doctor
They're
on this
here.
plane?
Yeah, exactly. I was the person.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then everybody, like, one of the things was I was seated all the way in the back, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody started grabbing my arm. They're like, who are you? And I'm like, can you please let me go back to my seat and sleep? Because it was like a 4 or 5 hour flight.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm just a paramedic. I'm just like, let me go. And then thankfully, nobody else had a medical emergency.
Because you're it.
Yeah. The only one on there.
I always thought that would be cool. But like, why would they need a teacher? Is there a teacher on this flight? It's me. What do you need this for?
Just a parent complaining about their kid not doing their homework.
Can you help him do his homework? Oh, okay.
Can you tell
No.
him to do his homework? No.
Yeah, that's what I would be good for. Yeah,
Just homework.
yeah.
I hate homework.
Do you? What kind of? I guess you do get some homework in your training because you have to probably tons of stuff to memorize, protocol, procedures.
There's so like in the course I'm gonna take right now, there's anatomy, so you have to learn a lot about like muscles and the heart. And then one more thing, I'm still in UBC, so there's like 3 course load of homework every single day. So one thing, it's online, right? So I see all my assignments, so I just like sit down on Mondays when I have nothing to do. I just complete it and just get on with it.
It's all online, so you don't have to deal with cadavers or anything like that.
Oh no, I did today actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I had to
Oh.
recertify for basic life support.
Okay.
Because my certification expired and I was doing CPR for like 2 hours and I'm just like, man, like this is tiring.
No, but like usually, like at
Oh,
the university, cadavers for
No.
anatomy. No,
I don't know, I'm not sure. I think maybe.
because I know if you go into physio or maybe even dentistry,
Dentistry,
definitely medicine.
yeah.
Right. I know I have a few friends who are physio and a cousin, and they definitely had to learn anatomy using cadavers. Like,
We might have to.
yeah.
That's something I'll find out when I go on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, I asked you what are some of the fun things you do, and you said random music, sleep,
Decorate.
decorating.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah. I
So-
bake.
You bake
I
as well.
bake really good. I made like a chocolate Japanese cheesecake and then I made a
Wait, a Japanese cheesecake.
Yeah. It's like the one, yeah, it's like
Wow.
the airy, fluffy one.
Yes.
It was good. Yeah, and it was a
Okay.
chocolate one, so you just put cocoa powder in it.
And I guess you found a recipe online. Is
Yeah.
it like Uncle Tetsu or those?
I think it
Yeah.
was actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking to make a matcha one next time. Yeah, because we have matcha at Gongcha, so I don't have to
love
buy
that.
it.
I
Yeah.
love the Japanese cheesecake.
They're really good. And then I made a blueberry cake.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really, really good. That was, I think, like better than the Japanese cheesecake.
Yeah.
And then I made like 10-minute cookies one time.
Yeah.
It's really fun. You know, like the mixer.
10-minute cookie?
Yeah. So I mean, like it takes 10 minutes to bake, so they're really
Okay.
fudgy and like
Okay.
yeah. And the funny thing is, I don't eat any of that. I just give it to my friends because I don't like to eat sweets.
You make it, but you don't eat it?
Yeah. I don't like sweet stuff, so I just
Oh,
give it to my
waste.
friends. No, I
You
give it to my friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mixer I have at home, I
Uh-huh.
stole from Gongcha.
Yeah.
So I had this one time I look at my boss and I just took it home and I just never gave it back to her. So the next time I saw my tips, it was minus 250. She just
I see.
yeah, she just made me pay for it.
That's cool. So you have a busy life.
Yeah, basically.
Not much downtime.
Yeah. I feel like my downtime is the busy time.
So when you come here, obviously you flew here from Kelowna.
Yeah.
Hopefully not just for this podcast, but you're visiting your family.
Yeah, I'm visiting both my parents. Everything works out.
Everything
Yeah.
works out. And you usually, like, how many days do you have off? You said you were here since Monday?
Yeah, and I go back today.
Oh, today?
Yeah, I go back at 10 p.m.
Oh, you're flying out tonight.
Yeah, going
Interesting.
back. Yeah.
What a life.
Yeah.
I guess you took a small plane here.
It was a flare
Flare?
something plane. Yeah. It was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had like 30 rows.
I've heard interesting things about Flare.
Yeah, I don't like flare. I just had to book with them because
If anybody's listening, no, nobody's listening. We're not going to get sued, are we?
I hope not. No, I can just say I'll be a paramedic for you on your next flight.
What is the issue with Flare? I heard it's really inexpensive, but sometimes you don't know if it's taking off or when it's going to arrive.
Yeah, I got delayed 40 minutes.
But that's
on
why it's so
Monday.
cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got delayed 40 minutes on Monday.
Okay.
But I mean,
That's not that bad.
Yeah, I kind of expected it, right? So it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
40 minutes is nothing.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like in Flare, I don't know why, but the turbulence is much worse. Like you feel it a lot more.
What kind of planes are they flying?
I don't
Is it
know.
a regular large
Like
Boeing plane or?
I don't know if it's. I think it's Boeing. I'm not
Okay.
sure. But it's scary. Every single time I've like been on their plane, like there's always turbulence. But every single time I've been on like another plane, like
Maybe that's just the route.
yeah, or it's like same weather, same route.
Oh,
It's scary.
okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
but,
they add that in as part of the excitement.
yeah, part of the cheap. Yeah, and I also hate WestJet because they're always late.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they can be late. But yeah, I have a list of airlines I never fly on, but I won't give that list here.
no, I wanted to know. I was going to ask.
Maybe after this recording.
Okay, I would like to know.
So, for all of the students who are listening to this podcast, what are some words of advice you have to give?
I would say, like, one thing is like resilience. Keep going, keep bouncing back. Like, there's always going to be things that throw you down. Sometimes it might even be like your friends who are against you that you were like besties with since you were like babies, but you have to learn to accept the facts, right? There's more rather than dwelling on the facts for too long, which is completely normal. Like you're allowed to have emotions. You're only human, right? But there's a time where you really have to accept it and you have to move on. Because at the end of the day, like the only person that you can really rely on is yourself. Because you're the one who knows what you're thinking when other people don't, right? So learn how to like feel those thoughts and how to work through those thoughts with yourself. And another thing is take it slow when you have to, right? There's no need to rush through things in your life. I feel like the time when I made the most mistakes is when I rushed through things a lot. Sometimes it's like the turtle and the rabbit race, right? The turtle won in the end because he went slower, right? So it's okay to take things slow. I think the only like one more thing I would say is like try to make yourself happy rather than making others happy. Because one thing I like to tell all my friends is you need to have, it's like sharing is caring, but you need to have something to in order to share it first. So you need to be happy in order to share the happiness first, right? So focus on yourself and try to make yourself happy first, and then start, giving it away little by little.
You can't give something that you don't have.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like literally impossible. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harnoor.
Of course.
It's been a very interesting conversation. I'm glad we had it.
It's been a very random conversation.
Thanks for flying in here just for this podcast. Of course,
it's so important. I have really had to, I've been looking forward to the whole year.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.